Well, with all questions paused, hopefully answered, but maybe just pointed in the right direction. I thank you all for being here. It is, as always, a pleasure that cannot be quite measured, because this is an investment of our time, of our energies, of all of your brilliance to bring these beings to life. As you all had the opportunity to notice, I did get a chance to get most of the sound files of our previous episodes since December up. This last few last few days, last few hours, most recently I got all of the episodes up. So they are there for perusal. They have been bandied about and shared here and there. There is one final place, and I'm thinking of sharing them, but I haven't gotten around to it just yet. Don't want to make anybody jealous of your efforts and your genius. But it is a lot of effort. It is a lot of investment of time. And we do have the opportunity these few nights of play to associate with others of similar interests, likes, and passions for this hobby of ours. So once again, thank you all. It really means a lot to me. And despite all of your fans who were itching for those episodes, without further delay, this is officially Soup City Sins Season 12 finale episode, Brightened on Both Ends. When we last left our coterie, they had once again, for the umpteenth hundred time, surpassed nearly every expectation of their skills and efforts. They had once again stared into the hoary teeth of actual final true death and come out the other side stronger for it. They had once again beaten insurmountable odds, social pressures, and caused many people in the city to curse and kick their own guardian angels for fate conspiring against their efforts so successfully, with Nash in tow, along with his childer, along with the corpse of one of his helpmates. They speed across the city from Graceland Cemetery towards the Harold Washington Library, the seat of the government's power, while the succubus is a halcyon beacon for the true strength, regalia, and power of the tower in Chicago. It is a landmark of a different variety. It is held as an Elysium and operates with those self-same rules, though it specifically is not officially Elysium. It is not officially a part of the governmental structure of the Kindred Society of Chicago. The Harold Washington Library is. The Civic Opera House is. The Harold Washington Cultural Center is. In fact, what most people may not be aware of, the pedways between the federal buildings downtown actually are part of the Elysium. In those spaces, one could meet and entertain other kindred with a promise that all parties who entered might leave unmolested, under threat of death, with the full weight of the tower. Most people don't, because even for kindred, there are places in the dark that one should never be alone. And the pedways are such a place. Harold Washington Library, however, its green tinted copper roof, its several stories of knowledge, its private meeting areas and wide open vistas, its windows that stare out onto the Eisenhower Expressway, are all part of Elysium. It is where many judgments have been passed down. It is where many kindred lives have had their last few moments. Because the violence in Elysium is government mandated. It's the sort of place where stepping out of line is most assuredly, at the bare minimum, a loss of one's blood, one's vitae, one's fang, and at most, the loss of everything else, one's shame and immortality. So heading towards Harold, Washington, speeding in the well-appointed armored vehicle that has become the Scooby Gang's mystery machine. There is time yet for a few more discussions amongst one another before arrival. Silvio is nothing if not a skilled driver. His defensive skills were elsewise would stand out as exactly that, defensive driving, with the goal of being where they need to safely and quickly. It's nothing more just an average Tuesday on the expressway in Chicago.
Guess that's a no. No one has anything to say.
We do need to figure out what we're doing with the you-know-what and the trunk of the car, because I don't think we should take that along with us when we're facing what we're going to have to face. So that needs to be maybe a quick stop. And as nice as he looks right now, mostly to Nash, you can't bring him before the council looking like this. Yes, it was necessary at the time, but they're going to question him, and he is not questionable at this moment. So we need to solve that issue.
And how exactly are we going to do that?
Well, see, you're Mr. Connections with the blood people. So, you make it happen, honey.
You want me to call Safoa and get us some vessels sent over? Is that what you're saying?
No, it just needs to be enough to rouse him to the point of being able to speak. Or at least reply when asked a question.
We're still gonna have to.
Something, I don't care.
We'll have to stop somewhere and arrange for that, but here's the other thing. If we have a body in the trunk that we're getting rid of anyway, can't we just give Nash that blood?
Not see what was left of that guy. Like, sorry, Sophia, but Sophia and the other chick, his childer, had a snack. I don't think there's much blood of anything left.
I would say a little more than a snack. He's like a Capri Sun, squeezed completely dry.
Ew. Alright, well, in that case, give me 1 second.
But what about that other guy with the missing finger?
What's that?
Not doesn't have to be Safoa directly, but what about the dude with the missing finger? Or did he get out of the business? You know what I'm talking about, the Jewish one.
I'm honestly not sure. Okay, so here's my proposal then. We have Sephoa bring us some blood to the Haven. We get Nash at least a little bit fixed up. We get the illegal childer under control enough that they won't frenzy on the way there. Then we head over to the library, and then we present him.
She's quite sedate at the moment.
Do you think it is wise to wake Nash up so we have to fight him again?
Who says we have to wake him up? We just have to make sure that he's healthy enough that he won't die the moment they smack him. That he's at least able to respond to questions.
So how are you going to do that without waking him up?
We could stake him.
We could, but you are worried that if we do more damage to him, that it will end him.
Okay.
Driving a piece of wood through him is most assuredly going to do some damage.
Fair enough, but hear me out. If we get a lot of rope, and I mean a lot of rope.
What about saran wrap?
That might work too. Or maybe just a really long chain.
He cannot, I do not understand necessarily how your court does things. Every city is different, but he cannot be brought to the court and fed there. Maybe you provide vessel for him there, where he is, near the sheriff and kindred Canaanites who are older than yourselves.
I guess we could. I just don't know how they would feel about me calling in some blood or some vessels from circulatory system without their prior consent.
Every choice is gamble, but I do not think it is wise to wake him up and then drive him to the Elysium.
I figured it out. We can do kind of both. Stop at the Haven. I have the incinerator oven, whatever you want to fucking call it. At the Haven, we can get rid of the body. We can also have them drop off bags, not bags. Take the bags with us. We get there where he can't get away, and it's obvious, and we wake him up there where we have backup. So that fix everybody's problem?
Third thing that we could consider is he seems to like to eat his own. She is his snack to go.
Don't we want to keep her around? Isn't she also evidence of his wrongdoings?
Seems unlikely that he would kill her again.
So he does not need to kill her to feed on her.
That might not stop him from trying by accident.
And
Look,
trying
last
to destroy the evidence.
Well, then he has violated another tradition, no?
The last time I woke up another kindred from torpor, he almost ate me and Alex.
While I know nothing of this Alex or the situation of which you speak, it is the same as I say. It's probably not a wise idea to wake him up and then drive him to Elysium. May not be wise idea to take him to Elysium and feed him there either. May step on toes, may offend some people, but it's certainly better than fighting him in the back of the car all the way there.
All right. Do we have any... Wait a minute. Just a reminder, we guessed his, like, out of character, we were able to guess Nash's clan, right? That he is Ventru?
No, based on what you remembered, yeah.
Okay. On second thought, after remembering a little bit more about Nash's feeding needs, letting him snack on the girl might be the best choice, because he might not be able to take whatever blood we give him. So we can go there to the library. Before we go in, we open up the tap, shall we say, and then we bring him in. That way we're not fighting him on the way there, just from the car to the door.
As always, whichever you prefer to do. I have no dog in this fight, so... Obviously, my fortune is tied to yours, but not in, so deeply that your missteps get me killed.
It's always reassuring to have you say that, Sophia.
Would you rather I lie to you and put a smile on top of it?
I mean, it might make us feel better sometimes. But no, you keep being you.
I'm here to help, not to make you feel better.
Alright, so the plan is burn the body, get some saran wrap, feed the girl to him. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's about the plan.
Okay.
Tess, do you have anything you want to add?
I guess if we're running out of time, a quick stop to just dispose of the body somewhere. Like dumpster or whatever. I hate to do that to somebody's life, but whatever. Back of the Walgreens or something where I can get some saran wrap and we do this shit on the way, then that's what we gotta do. So that we don't have to go all the way back to the Haven.
That is actually probably better, because I just realized the Haven is the opposite direction from the library.
Agreed, because the only thing I mentioned in Haven is if we needed a place for Sapoa to come, but since Sapoa can't come, and it didn't do that deal, then now we'll just do secondary thing. Like we did with fucking anything else.
So, the plan is to find the back alley and near 24 hours something.
Walmart?
Yeah, and since I'm still blessed, I'll go in and get the stupid saran wrap. You guys handle the body. I'll come back out as quick as I can, and then we'll be on the way.
Okay, consider it done.
We'll need maybe half a dozen rolls. Maybe a dozen. How well do you want him wrapped up?
You're going to wrap a kindred in saran wrap. I mean, I have no opinion. I'm just clarifying.
It's quite strong.
So, kindred. But I know nothing about this kindred. I mean, it's probably better than 400 yards of rope. Or what are those stretchy things called with the motorcycles?
Bungees?
If you say so. Do they make extra strong zip ties?
I don't know if I can get the kind we would need at Walmart.
Is a good point. Let's go get the shrink wrap then.
Well,
I'm having a hard time not face palming right now at this whole time today.
well, as luck would have it, as you all are making your way down LaSalle, as you, instead of shooting over to the Eisenhower, circle directly back around to the Harold Washington, you all cut over to Clark and dance your way down past, the merchandise mart, and you find on your way a very easy to get to out of the way Target. Well, Target is not exactly Walmart, but because it is in fact just inside the loop, it is in fact open far later than one would expect of Target's normal clientele, normal operating hours. It's not quite 24 hours, but being open to 2 a.m. is definitely still quantifiable as useful. Its location downtown assures a certain level of security. The usual theater of security, to be exact, the dome cameras at the corners, the ATMs with their cameras all facing the entrance, the armed guard moving to and fro between its 5 floors of business, which, even under the best of circumstances, no Target in the world needs 5 floors. Yet they have it because it is a status symbol. Silvio circles the block once, twice, easing into the alley just across the street from it, because that is in fact the closest you can come and stay outside of the range of the cameras that are clearly around the building. Making your way across the street would require normally a nice wits and athletics, because there is no easy to reach light. The lights are literally at each end of the block. There's nothing in the middle of the block to cross. However, this is Chicago, and that means absolutely nothing. Playing games with our lives as Chicagoans is just another Tuesday. So as the cars move at the speed of Chicago's haste to get where they're going as quickly as possible, or die trying, including killing anything on the way to get there, that's just short legs pump, moving far quicker than one would expect. Cars whizzing by, heedless of the life that they are putting at risk, mainly their own. And Target, as is usual, is understaffed, undermanned. There are a mile of self-checkouts and one beleaguered cashier who is clearly at the end of her rope as her wig sits 2 inches back from its proper position. Her poorly, hastily tied and retied head wrap, barely keeping it in place, and the frustration clear on her face that with one more dismissive remark, she will lose what little patience she has. And that patience is only enough to keep her from actively seeking to be fired for assaulting and accosting every person who walked through the door. The security guard seems by far more afraid of her than any of the shoplifters or accidental, forgetful clientele who drop a few things into their purse while paying for a few more things that just happen to be a small bit less expensive. The typical zombies one sees on their favorite memes about people of Walmart are no less prevalent here, though here, instead of it being off the rack, it is something picked up from Plato's Closet, something name brand and well loved by the name on the brand, not necessarily the style or the fit. The age of the clientele is no less accelerated, though here they clearly spent money to seem far younger than their days. Most of us purchased, 10,000 an inch, and youth sucked down through nebulous injections and decoctions over the years to make their skin seem healthy, to seem tan, to seem far more youthful than it ever actually was. It is very hard for Hesha to not see this is the land of the truly undead. The shoppers who visited this place seem like the souls trapped in purgatory, always trying to seem younger, healthier, happier than they ever could be. And while Hestia has her adventure in Target, what are you all doing about the body? The human hired, the life emptied.
So, should we just go out back and throw them the bottom of a dumpster so no one finds them?
Well, not to say that this isn't a body dump, but should we make it look like a body dump?
I wanted to throw off cliff, but everyone not like that idea. So
Where is a cliff?
I'm sorry, Miss Rossi. It's just, how litter it just piles up and no one really bothers to address. This is our only planet that we have. It's not necessarily the right thing. We don't know whether he actually is biodegradable. What if he had a surgical knee implant or God forbid a pacemaker? Then he's going to sit there and have the nuclear, at least parts of him going to have the nuclear half-life of a dying star. Plastic doesn't, it's not biodegradable. So he's going to be there. And you know what it's like the crowded bar syndrome. People see garbage, they dump more garbage and more plastic. And think about the turtles.
she will give him that look, punctuate it with, well, now he will end up in landfill. Is that better?
Fair enough.
There are scavenging animals either location. Is he eaten by fish or birds and other small rodents?
I mean, he is in trunk. Is he going anywhere? Is he hurting anyone? We could just leave him in trunk for now. We'll take him to the, who you say, there are pizza knobs now. We'll take them down there, perhaps.
Yeah, they're in the south suburbs. The Nagaraj and the Pizza Knob have a whole little network of choices out there. I was meaning to take a better look at them, but you know how certain family members are with be nosing in that business.
Oh, that's fine. Perhaps we make a gift. He may walk again.
I'm sorry, are you talking about zombies?
No, zombies are not a real thing.
And what else do you call it?
They call it recycled people.
I'm not seeing the difference.
Zombies eat brains.
And recycle people eat?
They don't eat. It's perfect.
Well, there was the things that happened down in Miami.
There was some drugs.
Well, no, the local payer decided to give them largesse to experiment more completely with the ritual to try to bring. Well, anyway, I don't want to speak too much out of turn, but that was technically zombies, but they weren't eating brains. They were just eating bodies, whatever was left. If they happened to have a brain, they didn't go hunting for it. If you know what I mean.
Well, it's just like when you make a hot dog, there is a certain acceptable amount of rat droppings, yes?
Officially, but it's more the cockroaches in the chocolate that really should bother people. But what are you gonna do?
That's just extra work.
Yeah, you say that. What if you have a shellfish allergy? If you get the wrong allergy to cockroaches, you can never enjoy chocolate ever again. It's not a really good thing to know.
So, if you make 1,000 corpses walk and 2 of them eat faces, that is good. It's good ratio.
It's still weird that it happened twice, though.
Right?
I don't know that it happened twice. I just picked number out of it.
No, Miami, Gary, that thing that happened up in Washington. But that wasn't us at all. That wasn't any member of the family. That was actually the what do you call them? The warlocks.
The Tremere.
Yeah.
What?
Anyway, it's beside point. The man in trunk not go anywhere.
All right. I mean, you make a sound point, but I have to ask, how are we going to keep people from accidentally peeking? I mean, that corpse is going to start smelling sometime soon.
Well, I'm not to advocate that we leave it in there for next week.
Oh, we have several hours at least before it starts smelling.
Besides, we go in and get shrink wrap. We shrink wrap him. He stay fresh longer, right?
Fair
The whole
enough.
reason for saran wrap.
Not to mention it is pretty cold back there. The temp will definitely degrade the cellular decomposition of the body long enough for the natural differenceness of the body to not spread too far anyway. And then,
And if he's frozen, it'll obscure the time of death.
oh yeah, that's a given. That's one of the beautiful thing about draining all the blood out of a body. It makes it so that finding the actual time of death is almost impossible. It's one of the few tricks that the zombie actually taught us. A nice, dry, dead body could have been killed yesterday, could have been killed 2 years ago. Especially if you have a nice, solidly sealed cooler, whether it's on or not, to put the body into, the temperature holds. It is a chef's kiss, I tell you. Great for hiding. Anyway, sorry, that was a different lifetime. I don't do those things anymore.
No, I'm interested. Go on.
Perhaps another time. Right now we have business to attend to. Or some of you do.
And speak of the devil and they shall appear. After having another few points of Hesh's faith in mankind, as a species that deserves to continue existing. Shaken to its very core, Tastia is back, her arms laden with several boxes of saran wrap. And no, not just any saran wrap. Reynolds commercial strength saran wrap.
Good stuff.
You've spared no expense, I see.
I also got 50-pound test zip ties and 100 packs. So if each one can hold up to 50 pounds and there's 100 of them, you do that. So body taken care of.
Oh, so Sophia was explaining to us why we should probably just not bother throwing it out right now and hold on to it until we get back to the Haven and burn it there. Or throw it off the cliff.
Or give to my friends so that they have something to do.
Apparently, their friends make zombies.
No.
It's not
Recycled
zombies.
people. That's the politically correct term, apparently.
Zombies.
Is not zombie.
Okay.
I actually thought of another point, if I may, Miss Rossi. It's not really a zombie because they don't unbury themselves. They didn't come back. They were brought back by other things, and they weren't buried. And they don't hunt brains.
They are very good at following directions, as long as directions are simple. See, not
Yeah.
zombie.
Mm.
I still don't see the difference.
Back in the car, shaking your head. Whatever, we're running out of time here. Let's do this. And she begins to quickly bind Nash with the zip ties and then the saran wrap.
Okay. How do you test to make sure that they are wiggle proof?
The zip ties or the saran wrap?
The zip ties.
I put them high enough up his arm that you do that thing where you use strength against it and pop it, but then it's not so tight that it's like cutting off skin or cutting into the skin. Basically, she can't stick her finger between his skin and the zip ties, or either of his wrists and the zip ties.
Okay.
Should probably make tighter. We do not care if he is in pain and has no circulation.
True.
I would, but see, what happened was the last time I nicked somebody thinking they would be perfectly fine, we ended up with a child. Don't want to repeat.
There's no actual proof of that, now is there?
You are afraid that someone will embrace Nash?
No, the fact that it took them bleeding out without us realizing and dying because I mixed them in a place that they couldn't heal from is my point. Which means Nash is right at that cusp, right at the almost ash cusp. So any more damage, and we lose him entirely.
I do not think that plastic kills us, but whatever you think is best.
All right. So, using every ounce of care that is available to her, Hesha ensures that no additional harm is to befall the physical form of Nash, and wrapping him in saran wrap until there is several rolls emptied on top of the zip ties used to hold him immobile. What is the next step of your plan?
Well, I guess they said they wanted to feed him to rouse him enough to get him there. But maybe we should wait until we get just outside.
That would be a good idea.
So, of those present in the back of the vehicle here with Nash and his childer, how many have a sire that is still alive? Well, still unalive, as the case may be. Those of you who have,
See,
those of you who have had a near-death experience, those of you who have a relationship with your sire in any shape, fashion, or form, antagonistic, friendly, loving, or what have you, and been in a state where either of you have been near death. Is there anything that you recollect?
I don't think Sophia has been in that situation, but she is a walking expert on vampires.
She is, isn't she? Did she have a specialty in that?
She does. 4 dots in a cult with a specialty in vampires.
In other words, Sophia could sing us the songs of our people.
be good.
Is it still like, are we done answering that question, or are we trying to figure something out?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. What are we? Any answers? Any suggestions? Any?
Oh, okay. Well then, if they're still asking, we're trying to figure things out. Hestia is going to use the rest of the zip ties to start zip tying the girl.
Can I get a repeat of the question real quick, just to make sure I heard it right?
Any of you have a relationship with your sire, antagonistic, friendly, or otherwise, and been the victim of or on the point of the precipice of death, either them or yourself?
Well, for Lucio, that is definitely a yes.
Any instances pop to mind?
The very recent one, which Is this the same night that we met Alexa, or is this a different night?
This is technically a different night.
Okay. So then, basically the prior night, because that's literally when they were almost killed by a bunch of monsters from the Shadowlands, and he had a near-death experience where he spoke with Laura. At least he think he did. Might have just been hallucinating something before he died. But yeah, that is absolutely a very recent near-death experience for him.
Did he share that information with anyone in the car?
I don't think he spoke of it, no.
Okay.
So, have we figured out how we're going to overcome their psychic connection?
That is an excellent question. How would that work? I am no expert in any.
I'm sure Arthur Mary here would be able to explain more about the blood than I could, but there is, magic in the blood.
I mean, that much I thought was obvious, but...
So, there is a connection, it's from sire to child, and the other direction as well.
What about other relations, like grandsire and that? Does that also work, or is it just sire and child?
Probably would say that it's a little weaker, but, the lineage thing, the blood is very important. It informs all we do. You notice how calm she's being, don't you?
Look,
And how suddenly there is a small panting from Hestia, as if there is an exertion of something underway. Hestia turns toward the young lady, toward the former young lady, who clearly has had no unlifetime being dead. And as Sophia mentions how calm she has been, she looks at Sophia. And the combined action of her looking at Sophia, regarding her as one would a strange little bird that speaks your language. Hestia moves, the zip tie is at hand, closing the distance. While for most, standing in the back of a limousine is a little cramped, especially one as old school as this. For Hestia, with her short height, it's not quite a full cramp. It's a little bit of a hunch. And she moves with far greater dexterity than one would in such a normally enclosed space, especially with so many bodies near at hand. For the moment that Hestia moves towards her, the childer hisses, shoving Hestia back into Lucio and grabbing the saran wrap form of Nash, throwing him through the door.
stop her.
Hit her with the car?
She-
There's no time to make some eye contact with her or anything. She's up to her
She's-
task, and that's it, right?
She's thrown Nash through the door. She is still in the vehicle, hissing, and there is a wildness that one would normally expect for something that has no humanity. But underneath it all, there are blood tears beginning to stream from her eyes, as if something. It is like seeing a horse go ballistic, knowing that it is going ballistic because it is in pain. Something has crawled underneath its saddle. Something has gotten in between its shoe and its hoof. Something invisible is nettling it to the point of absolute madness.
Huh. I
How
stand by
fast?
and run them over.
So Miriam's intention is to tell Silvio to run over the corpse that just went flying out the door. What about the angry kindred that is actually close enough to put their fangs and fists into things?
If I can get eye contact, I will attempt to mesmerize her.
Okay, is the car moving right now?
Yes.
Shit. We gotta stop the car then so we can get that body. But in the meantime, Lucio's going to throw a prowess and is going to try and physically restrain the girl.
Okay. Yes.
How fast were we going?
Typical Chicago street speeds. So about 40, 45.
And she threw him through an armored car door.
She did.
So has to do him to the living to think of and get herself to a, like, which shouldn't take much as short as she is, get herself to her feet and squeeze out of the car and going after the body. She can have time to get herself loose.
Excellent. That being the case, here are the roles as are necessary. Lucio needs to give a DC 3 for his role to grapple the young kindred. Miriam is calling for Silvio to come to a stop, which is what he's doing. Hestia needs to roll a dexterity and athletics, the DC 3 or better to not suffer any of the usual scrapes and bumps that happen when leaping from a moving vehicle. And Sophia is attempting to make eye contact and get mesmerized, which is a battle of wits in this particular case. I don't have the books open for the roll necessary, so we're just going to roll with this simple standard mesmerism versus a DC. Excellent. So we're going to bypass the contest. We're going to say it's almost a guaranteed if Lucio is successful, which is all happening at roughly at the same time. So we're going to say it's going to be...
Hell of it, I'm also going to Blood Surge to boost strength, because if she could throw him out an armored corridor, she's a lot stronger than she looks.
Exactly. And as all of that's happening, Miriam, go ahead, Sophia, go ahead, roll your mesmerism roll as well, with a DC 3 being your threshold. So, let's see what we got.
It's strength and brawl, right?
Yep.
Oh.
You know, I'm also going to use a willpower.
All right.
That makes it 7. I'm sorry, I refuse to fail here.
There are moments that...
He's laughing at mine, not yours.
There are moments in this world where fate conspires, and then there are other moments where fate helps unnecessarily. There's moments where the success ratio is so impossibly within grasp that every attempt by fate to nudge you forward, to put you into the path of that oncoming train, overdoes it. You not only step into the path of the oncoming train, but somehow find yourself smack dab between both tracks moving in different directions at one time. So both trains are dead on, smack dab, bifurcating the person in half. And this is exactly what happens, because as Lucio manages to grapple the wild, unabandoned kindred who is being nettled and driven forward by the ungodly mental communication that was taking place. As Hestia went leaping from the car, her fangs bared, looking as if she was something out of the Underworld series. Not something that is over the top, sexily gothic, but no, that just sheer, unadulterated inhumanness springing forth from her as she goes out of the car, heedless to whatever may befall her, because her goal is to be successful beyond the idea of success in this. This person will not escape. This one domino, which has set off the conflagration of fires in and around their life for this last year, for these last few years, will not escape them in this. And as she tumbles through the street, gracefully bouncing and bounding, catching Nash before he makes even one impact with the concrete outside. Cars zooming past. Inside, the vehicle slides to a stop, jostling everyone around as Lucio grabs the child and holds her firm as Sophia's inner monster reveals itself. There's a moment in The Lord of the Rings where Galadriel shows what she would be like, the magnificent beauty and horror that is all that those good intentions being misused by the ring. And in this, you all understand what it is that those visitors saw that night, what Galadriel showed them. Sophia's skin turns almost completely translucent. There is a deathly glow emanating from her skin. All semblance of life fades from her eyes as what looks like glaucoma clouds over her eyes. The deep color that's always stood out, the darkness therein disappears, just lightness and the force of her will radiating through the car. Would everyone be so kind as to roll a resolve plus composure to maintain their own individual persona in this moment? The full, unfurled might of a kindred's mind, backed by their beast, bounces off the walls, and those unaccustomed to feeling the sheer blunt force trauma of another kindred's mind on theirs, this is the most unsettling moment you have experienced in at least a few days for Lucio. Lucio?
Yes?
Resolve plus composure.
I thought I did roll that. It's 4 successes.
Yeah, sorry about that. Didn't see that there. Thank you so very much. All right, so here's several things that happen at once with the bombardment of another mind against yours. You feel that touch, and you have been there. You've been past the grade school first base version of this, which is what it feels like. This is not quite as invasive to Lucio as having another entity inside your soul, but it's very close. It's definitely in the same ballpark. It feels dirty, but you've been filthier, so this is, well, fuck. However, for Miriam, with only 2 successes, you have been pickpocketed. You have been stolen of something. You're not sure exactly what it was. Perhaps it's one's own autonomy and one's own agency. But in this moment, it feels as if you are in the middle of a crowd at a rock concert and someone is standing awfully close. You can know what their thoughts are by them keeping time to the music. And it is not a most pleasurable feeling at all, having something that close, having someone that inside your bubble. And the weight of it is horribly cloying. It's the thing that causes you to shiver to even think about it, but yet here it is, bombarded, the force of another's mind bouncing off the inside of the vehicle as if it is a physical thing. And to add injury to the insult of it all, the child in Lucio's arms. Because while barely legal is legal enough for certain things, it is definitely not something that is actually legal. There's no full adult mind there, though the law says that it is. And the difference of all that strength, the difference of all that undead flesh buried and kept like a meal prep, we're still the physical form of a first-year college student. And it's still the physicality and mental wherewithal of that person that they were. And when Miriam bombards them with just sheer blunt force trauma without even getting a chance to issue an order or a decree, her beast crawling around, making itself more than known, the child laughs nervously, like one would if someone mentioned that their shoe was untied in front of their friends. Child. And for the first time this entire evening, from the realization as to what had happened with Nash to the monstrousness they displayed, now their death age, when they were taken, becomes all the more apparent. Because in the bombardment, in the reality of this moment, in the fear that should be there, in the affront that should be there, it's not there. It's the child unknowing what to do because they haven't been in this situation before. That nervous kids giggle. And suddenly, everything about Nash seems far worse. And even as Hestia's heroics in the moment has kept the body from being destroyed, being hit by another car, her speed and alacrity keeping the body safe. Because you haven't heard any cars tire squealing, no screaming people, no yells of collision. You're sure that Hestia was successful. And it makes you feel bad. Yes, you are taking him to the hell of kindred kindness. But to do so, you have to give him even more moments of immortality. To do so effectively, you still have to provide nourishment to him. To do so, you have to put another being's existence on the line for the monster responsible for not just this creature in Lucio's arm, but all the evil that's danced around the coterie. Each member's lives for the last few months, last few years, and in some cases, last few decades. And it's exactly on the hour, so we're going to take a quick 10-minute here, folks. We'll see you guys back here at 10 after the hour.
See you then.
Fabulous.
Yep.
And when we last stepped away from our beloved coder, several things had happened at once. Several realizations manifested. Several different revelations of the beast's intention and the many crimes of Nash against the width and breadth of Kindred society. And as the car has swerved to a stop, the child in Lucio's arms is well contained. Miriam having bounced around as the car slid to a stop, Sophia unceremoniously off the seat. Clothes not so much wrinkled or mussed, but the idea of the harsh, jarring stop. And Hestia's heroics leave them in the middle of the street. What is it that everyone is doing?
I will get out of the car to go help Hestia.
Hestia is just under 5 feet, which doesn't seem like that small, but in today's age, in any age actually, but especially this one, with the average American woman being roughly 5'4", and the average American male being 5'10.5" inches tall. Just under 5 feet is a significant amount of difference. The natural inclination is to assume that she is younger than she is, not simply because she's a kindred, not simply because she died and was in stasis, but her height makes her curves seem far more voluptuous. Her height makes her seem younger than she is. Her height makes, even during her human years, her strength seem far more insignificant in comparison. So seeing her with the full width and length of Nash in her arms, cradling him as if he was the most sensitive of newborn babies, is a sight to behold. Let alone knowing that she leaped from the moving vehicle to capture him before there was any impact of the saran-wrapped, swaddled child that he is, with the concrete beneath your feet.
I will give her a 2 thumbs up and go help her anyway, because, you know, might look a little weird with a short person carrying a big load.
Indeed. While in the car, unmasked as you are for the first time since meeting the remainder of your coterie members, Sophia, knowing what it was that you unfurled, where does that place you?
Sophia is probably digging her nails into the leather of the seats, her fangs exposed, and she's desperately trying to not pounce on this girl and suck her dry, because she is hungry, she is agitated, she is no longer in the mood to deal with this child.
And for most, that realization of the entity before you actually being a child though a league of legal majority, still a child. It's one of the things that you never quite understood about Americans. Simply becoming a legally responsible majority doesn't change the mindset. It's like anything else in the world. You must practice until you have it perfect and then practice that perfection. So becoming an adult, becoming considered a full mature entity is not something that happens because the sun has been orbited by the earth once more. Yet, lo and behold, that's exactly what Americans feel. Poof, magic, you're an adult now. You get to make rational adult decisions. You get to be held legally responsible for your actions, all in a society that does very little to prepare you to make those decisions. Sex, ew, what's that? Violence, ooh, but don't do it. Don't defend yourself. Don't do it, it's just wrong. Don't worry about that. We'll talk about that when you get older. Oh, you don't need to know about that. We'll teach you that when you get older. But when you get older, the response is always, why don't you know this already? It's a confounding system of moral inequalities and a basic iniquity that seems to be peddling children into a place where they don't belong on purpose, as if they are just grist for the grist meal. And having a European upbringing, even though she didn't have the necessary close familial bonds that Americans pride themselves on, she was more prepared for adulthood by the time she reached puberty than most American adults ever are. And Lucia, seeing the near phantasmal mirror image to what he knows lays just beneath the surface of him. He has seen his rage unleashed. He has seen what the monster has made him do, spurred on by his own sense of right and wrong. Holding the waifishly thin, surprisingly strong child. The size difference never mattered to him before. How small she actually wasn't a thing that really factored into his equations. The idea that this woman, this child, had been collected and killed by Nash was an afterthought for the larger things in his view. But as he holds her and feels the strength in her, the undead strength in her, and realizes the physical youth, the mental immaturity, and the clear emotional immaturity, it is very much reminding him of what and who Faye and Stella are. As well-meaning as they are, as passionate as they are, as very much alive as they are still very much children. He might as well be holding one of them killed by Nash.
There was briefly a idea of slaking some hunger, but after realizing how much she reminds him of his sisters by blood and other relation, and also realizing how tensions are already high in the car with Sophia basically clawing at the furniture, He absolutely decides against it and just says, "Calm down." Looking at her in the eyes.
I'm looking at Sophia in the eyes.
No, the girl.
I am calm. Where's my boyfriend? Where's Walty?
You threw him out the window.
I did not. I can barely even lift him. And I know I've tried. There was I shouldn't be talking about this. Where is he? Really? Don't play games. And why are you holding me? And oh my god, are you okay, lady? Lady? Miss? Is that your girlfriend?
I can't tell if you're playing dumb or if you are. But either way, if you want any chance of getting out of this, calm down. Stay still. And he lets go.
I am calm. I just want to know what's going on. Where am I? Oh god, you guys roofied me, didn't you?
Sophia will start in Italian and then back up, and sort of sidelong glance at Lucio, not making any direct eye contact. And the slight snarl to her voice will say, "Shut her up before I kill her."
Oh god, no! Please don't hurt me. I don't have much money, but whatever I have, I'll give it to you. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. Look, my boyfriend's Walty Nash. He'll help pay whatever it is you need. And at the moment she says this, Hesha and Miriam are moving back to the car with their package. Oh my god, did you guys kill him?
I will look at each person in turn with a very confused look on her face. Did she wake up?
Yes.
So it sounds like we're going to have to talk with her?
Oh god,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
And Sophia clearly does not have the patience for it, so...
And she begins crying.
Okay.
The tears running down her cheek. Her gaze focused between all of these strange adults.
Me a
People.
favor. Take your hand and place it over your chest where your heart is. What do you feel?
I'm cold. I'm very, very cold. I don't know what happened. I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me. I won't tell anybody.
Do you feel your heart?
And as realization begins to slowly dawn, you watch the rosy tint to her cheeks beneath the mattering of blood begin to fade. The nervous gasping for air begins to slow. And as the car begins to move once more, you see her gaze flicking around the car She's nervously looking for something, someone, some sign that things will be okay.
I will gently take her hand and I will put it to my chest. Do you feel a heartbeat?
God. I just what's happening? And she begins to get a little agitated. You can feel the corded, dead muscles begin to firm up. It's that tensing, that unconscious use of disciplines that come from wild, untrained potential. And having witnessed that strength unleashed, you know that one of the worst places to be is within touching distance. As her agitation begins to ratchet up, and she's looking for...
Okay.
Before she can get too wound up, Hester's gonna snap her fingers to get attention, and as soon as the girl looks at her, she's gonna compel.
Compelled to?
Sit still, be quiet, go calm.
All right. She cuts off like a switch. The stress of certain realizations being forced upon her, because there's no way to avoid those truths, which is always the one last final security blanket, the one last attempt for a rational mind to remain rational in irrational situations. It is to disassociate, to pull back from, to not look into. And that has been stolen from her. That has been taken from her, like much else about the end of her life. And like a switch, she's off. The tremouring bottom jaw, the lip quivering, silences, those wide, childlike eyes freezing, its frenetic look from left and right, back and forth, trying to keep an eye on the monster that is Sophia, and also keep everyone else within sight. As if by seeing the monster, by having the night light on, that the dark couldn't do anything to you. And yet, those days are long gone. And here, we nearly are. You're roughly 2 minutes at the most from the Harold Washington Library. There is a choice that sits before the coterie. Nash is in no shape for questioning. This child, exploited by him, killed by him, most assuredly a sacrifice to his continued existence, may be the only source of sustenance that could keep him in any semblance prepared for the questioning that may befall him. Will you feed the monster at the expense of this child?
Theoretically, there is a third option. We could give him some of our blood instead. It's a risk, to say the least, but it could be done, and we can preserve both of them for the questioning.
No, are you saying this out loud?
Yes.
Hestia gives him the worst set of stink eye that she has ever given anybody. I wanted to get blood back. You told me that wasn't going to work because he needed her blood and only all her blood. And now you want to give him mine? Oh, hell no.
I can give him a little of mine if you don't want to. Is there any chance that this will interfere or reflect poorly on us? And Lucio looks to Hestia and Sophia when he asks this.
Not that I can think of. The only thing is, we're going to go in with one of us down enough blood to get him to rap, which might just make one of us hungry. And I'm already a lot hungrier than when we started tonight, having to go get his ass and keep him from escaping. So, I don't know whether that's smart or not. Sophia, I don't know. You said the court's different here than it is where you're from, so who knows? But if it was the court where you were from, what would they say about us giving him our blood to make him able to be questioned?
She is his child. She is worthless. But bringing her into the court to further prove his crimes against your traditions, it's probably the most advantageous move for you to make.
Okay, so the next question in that is, would our blood even work for rousing him, seeing as how he needs usually a very specific type of blood to feed on?
My understanding is a lot of times the kindred vitae bypasses those needs for special diets. However, your blood would need to be more potent than his blood, and he has quite some age, does he not?
Yeah, he's older than me by a bit of more. He was already, I think, turned by the time I even existed. So the Chicago that I remember growing up was already different from the Chicago that he lived in when he was alive.
I mean, it's hard to say how potent his blood is exactly, but usually these things come with age. May require someone on the court to wake him up anyway.
Odd thought is, just like she's really powerful because he's her sire, maybe if we have somebody that was sired by somebody fairly powerful, that would work. But again, out of all of us, I don't know who would have that sort of pedigree, as it were.
Oh, as long as it wakes him up, I do not care if he cannot digest it.
With my beast in the state it is in currently, does that also raise the blood potency, or is that a different situation?
No, it doesn't actually raise the blood potency. There are certain rituals you've heard that might do so, but you haven't managed to learn them.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that's just kind of at a loss of it. We have to give him at least some of the girl and mix it maybe with some of our blood if we have any chance of making this work.
Your Primogen was very favorable to you, was he not? Perhaps his blood is strong enough. Perhaps he knows some sorcery that can make it stronger. It's just thought. I don't know. Perhaps we should take them in, and perhaps one will be told what to do with them.
You know what? We never did think of that. Maybe they will tell us what they want us to do to get him to be able to ask questions. So yeah, okay, I guess.
So, what is the final decision of the coterie? What is the judgment? What is it that you all will do with Nash, his child, and what lay before you?
Well, there's the door. Here's the kids. The sun is coming up in a couple of hours.
I suggest we move them inside and let the court decide what they need to do with them. Because if I have to sit in this car and smell her tears much longer, I will end her myself.
Before we do, I do want to remind everyone Nash does have some protection. He has called in every last boon and bond he can in order to escape justice. If we bring him in there in this condition, they may try to use that as justification that we have assaulted him unfairly, yada yada yada, put the blame on us. It might be worth just giving him a little bit of our blood before we go in to avoid that kind of situation. And I'm willing to donate.
He will still have been assaulted. It seems to me, if I understand your ways well enough, because we do things a little differently in the Hagata and the Giovanni before that if he has cashed in all his boons, then he is worthless to them now.
He's cashed in his boons, meaning that they are going to protect him to fulfill those boons.
Not necessarily. If his life is forfeit, then it is his word against theirs, and the word of a pile of ash is not worth much.
So, out of character, Lucio has some experience in politics. Could he make a guess at how bringing him in as he currently is would go?
Yes. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your wits plus politics, please? Or wits plus etiquette?
Wits and politics was probably better for me.
As I say previous, do not have dog in this fight. I'm just advising. You do as you think is best.
I have rolled a 2.
Sophia actually has a valid viewpoint that if all of the boons and bonds have been called in, that they don't have to honor them if he's already dead. However, if those boons are just laying on the table, he reminded people of what they owed, or made someone else aware of what he was owed, they would be forsworn in front of the eyes of those who are aware of those debts. And while they can't, as members of the government, actively show favoritism, it is the whole idea of it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Another way to force that into the open would be perhaps to ask for a boon yourself and get someone to revivify him enough that he can stand on his own. So there's several ways forward, and the balance of which way is best for you all comes down to your ethical and moral standing. Is it better to be viewed as someone who is honorably accorded a fallen prisoner? Or is it better to be the wild, untamed bounty hunters who always get their man dead or alive?
I still looks at Lucio. Wait a minute. You were talking about how Deuceable shows new favoritism from them. What about your friend? His blood's pretty old, right? He likes guys. He's not as pretty. He might just give you some of his blood.
Sorry, I had
to the car.
I'm sorry, I had a bit of trouble understanding you there. Can you repeat that?
Hess was pointing out that Sirius is old and likes guys, and that Nash is pretty, and said maybe he will give him some of his blood, and then gets out of the car, grabs the Nash so that she can move towards the inside.
I suppose I could ask. I don't know how I feel about it, but we can't just stay here forever. We have to make a decision, so all in favor of bringing him in as is?
Let's do it.
All opposed? Well, one vote beats none, so let's bring him in. With the girl.
So moments later, having taken the service elevator at the rear of the building usually for deliveries that goes from the basement all the way to the top floor, you all find yourself before the government with the saran wrapped, nearly twice dead form of Nash. Too physically depleted to do much more than exist in this space. Any attempt on his part to rouse or blush or otherwise use any of the higher disciplines granted to kindred, there is most assuredly going to be a fallout. A falling into torpor or worse. We could belabor the conversations had by the government with you all, through you all, and for you all, but the truth of the matter is this. Nash was, in fact, very much a suicide mission. He is owed too many boons and favors for them to officially do much more than slap him on his wrist. Without any definitive creating a child who goes a mile and a half for the few inches they need towards that. His actions normally would require the complete and total immolation of him, his child, and every notion of him from polite kindred society. As that notion becomes clear where the bulk of the council is heading, do any of the coterie attempt to speak up for the child? So you all are treated to how non-theatrically the prince and the primogen dispose and immolate wanton criminals. On the roof of the Harold Washington is actually a full-fledged library, a full-fledged garden of sorts. There's a green roof that provides green energy for the library, light and water, as well as herb garden and a actual walking touring garden that many don't know exists. Everyone knows that that green roof, that green copper bronze roof is eye-catching, and it clearly denotes that it is the Harold Washington Library. What they don't know is under those peaks and crenellations, they're just beneath the common view, is a wide open, actually fully green roof. So Nash is unwrapped from the saran. He is unencumbered. He and she are pinned to the roof with C-clamps that are in place, supposedly to hold the hoses that are necessary to keep everything up here irrigated through recycling the water. But in fact, a part of the design so that at any point they could, overnight, as the sun rises, ensure that no remnants of any wanton criminal is left. And as they're clamped down, and you watch her pleading in that barely just past teenage voice, I don't know what's going on. Someone help me, please. Please, Walty, say something. Help me. Oh my God. You all watch as she's clamped down, held in place. And we would make this easy for you. Unfortunately, easy doesn't send the correct message. And a old-fashioned video recorder that is as big as most people's chest is set up at the far end of the garden to watch from a distance. A 6-hour cassette left inside, recording. And as the door closes, you all can hear her screaming for help crying for her mother, crying for her father. And you all are escorted down to your vehicle. The human ghouls that are servants to the government's will left to guard the door. And you can look in their faces and know that despite all of their inability to do anything, they wish they could. Because this is not the first time they've heard the last cries of an immortal being dying out. And as you all leave, though you are sure, even with heightened senses, even with sharpening your ears, that you would not be able to hear her. But as you all drive away, taking the Eisenhower down and around to the Dan Ryan onto the Lakeshore Drive, you are sure as you leave this block, you can hear her screaming. You can hear her tears. And you know that for all of her strength, for all of the potential immortality gifted to her, forced on her, that in those moments it is a child in the dark screaming for their parents. Sometimes, no matter which way you look down the tunnel, it is not, in fact, a light at the end, but a train coming at you from both directions. I'd like to thank you all for a lovely session. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Night all.